Pikmin! Everyone knows it, more people should play it. Pikmin 2 is the fan favorite of the series. It's got Olimar and his co-worker Louie go back to the Pikmin planet to travel through deep, dark dungeons to collect lots of treasure. This game would later get a re-release for the Wii with new controls. A notable but not very talked about aspect of Pikmin 2 are the regional differences. It's one of those games like Tomodachi Life that has a bunch of various differences depending on what part of the world you're playing the game in. There are 3 main different versions of Pikmin 2, NTSCJ, NTSCU, and the PAL version. NTSCJ is the Japanese version, NTSCU is the North American version, and the PAL version is for Europe and Australia. Before you even play the game, we have differences, and that's the box art. Starting off with the Japanese version, it's pretty basic. We have these adorable little clay figures of the Pikmin. Note that there's a blurb about the GBA connectivity. I'll be saving that for later. The US version takes place right in the middle of a crazy action-filled fight against a hermit Kramad, homaging to the box art of Pikmin 1, with having a battle with a Bulborb. I love the clay art for Pikmin 2. It reminds me of the Mother series. This is definitely one of my favorite video game box art. How many other games has a giant lobster on the box? It is a bit of a random choice of enemy, though, up in front of the box like he thinks he's important or something. There's no area in the game where you're on a lily pad like this either. The PAL box art is very nice too. The Pikmin are on an actual branch and show off the new spicy and bitter sprays, all while a very derpy Bulborb in the background stares into your soul. You'd think I'd be done with the box art, but bizarrely enough, Canada got a separate box art from the US. This is the only time, at least off the top of my head, that I've seen that happen. It's the same as the PAL art, but they removed the creepy Bulborb in the background, then added a blurb saying, "Another masterpiece from Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of The Legend of Zelda." Now, as soon as you load up the game, there's already instantly a difference. The Nintendo logo in Japan is blue instead. This is the case for some other Nintendo games in Japan too. This was changed to white for all Wii versions. Now, just changing the text to the Latin alphabet isn't normally something that worthwhile to point out, but it's worth appreciating how they had to reprogram the Pikmin's positioning that make up the text. Waiting on the title screen for long enough will cause these tutorial demo videos to play. Exclusively in the Japanese Wii version, a new demo will play that's a karaoke of the song Tane no Uda.
赤ピクミンは火に強い青ピクミンは溺れない黄ピクミンは高く飛ぶ紫ピクミン力持ち
This song was used to promote Pikmin 2 in various ads.
がある個性がいろいろ生きているよ
They made minor adjustments to the intro cutscene of the game, changing the spelling of Olimar's home planet, Hokotate, with a C. Also, yeah, I know it's supposed to be pronounced Hokotate, but I hate that pronunciation. The only other change is that they replaced this text with a spinning Poco and a silly graphic of the president's face when it shows his death. Getting into the gameplay... Shut up, ship. A sometimes overlooked aspect of localizing games are name changes. I said shut up, ship! Olimar in Japan is Oriba. That's Mario rearranged, fitting with his partner Louie. The palette posies have very sweet-sounding names in some other languages, being called Candy Asiatic Day Flowers in Japan, and Pancake Flowers in French. Alright, you... ship... You know, isn't it kind of weird that this major, important character doesn't really have a name? It's just kind of the ship, or the Hokotate freight ship, some people call. Well, this isn't the case at all in Japan. In fact, it's the SS Dolphin first model. You might be familiar with the name SS Dolphin, as that was Olimar's ship from the first game, meaning that this ship is pretty much the prototype model of that ship. There's even an early English script for the game where they called it the Dolphin 1. I have no idea why they completely omitted its name in the localized versions. Because of this, it confused translators for Pikmin 3 and Smash, accidentally calling the ship the Dolphin. Now, where was I? Often you could find nectar that the Pikmin can consume. One of the most common ways to find nectar is from eggs, which is kinda strange. Well, in Japan, it's not nectar, but actually Earth Abstract. As mentioned before, Olimar and Louie travel through deep dungeons, and when you're at the end of one and about to fight a boss, the game notifies you with Final Floor. For some reason, specifically the PAL Wii version of the game changes this to Final Level. One of the maps in the game is the Perplexing Pool. It's got a nice vibe with upbeat music. Not to the French though. To them, this map is the Disturbing Spring. Much later in the game, you unlock the map The Wistful Wild. This name is exclusive to the English translation, as in every other language, it's called the Land of Promise. It was supposed to be called that in English too, with the early script. They may have changed the name to not have religious relations with the Promised Land. If there's anything religious with this place, it's hell. Have you seen its dungeons? When switching between Olimar and Louie, they announce their names. By the time you get to the Wistful Land of the Wild, the president takes Louie's place, and playing as him makes him say this. Many fans give him the nickname Chacho or Sacho because of it, but he's actually saying the Japanese word for company president. According to this official Japanese site, his real name is apparently Lee Chacho? We're not done yet here. On the ground is this big yield sign. In Japan, it's a stop sign as they're triangular there. There's one audio difference between versions of Pikmin 2, and it's the music here. But specifically in non-Japanese versions for the Wistful Wild, the main melody is different, but then it goes to the music box rendition after it loops. I think this might be a glitch considering it was removed in the Wii versions, and it also hurts my ears. After a day is all done and finished, you get an email. Sometimes the email will be from Louie's grandma. In one of her emails, she says, "How about visiting your dad? I've got bug juice." This is a mistranslation as dad is supposed to be grandma. There's another email from the president where grandma is mistranslated to auntie. Since we're talking about text, there's a bunch of various English text changes between the North American and PAL versions, with even more in the Wii versions, like the floor to level change from before. And don't get me started on the insane amount of text changes within the early scripts. A weird non-English typo is in the Wii version. You press C to use the 5-man knapsack, but somehow in the French-Canadian translation, they accidentally switched the C button icon to the plus one. Well, that's all the miscellaneous differences out of the way. Now is the time for the large majority of changes between each region. The treasures. There are a ton of changes with them. So get comfy, because I'm gonna go through them all. The reason why there's so many changes with them is because of culture differences, and many of them use real-world brands. I'll first start with treasures that are relatively the same in all versions, but have some sort of difference to them. First off is the Master's Instrument and the Decorative Goo. They're generic-looking chalk and tube of paint in Japan. but were Mario Paint themed when localized. Weirdly enough, the decorative goo is glitched in the North American version, where it's always floating a bit above the ground. They fixed this in the PAL version by lowering it a bit, but it caused its shadow to disappear. Next is the entire Mystical Energy series of treasures, which consists of several National High-Top branded batteries. These were all replaced by Duracell instead, except for 2, which ended up being removed from the game. The time capsule is this cute locket with a real image of a cat on it. This was changed to a dog when localized. The dog is cuter, to be fair. I wonder whose cat and dog are these. Miyamoto does have a dog named Piku. The Flame of Tomorrow is a box of matches. Well, a box with one match left. In Japan, it's Sun Breath brand, but was localized to Bowser Breath brand. Both have a phone number on it, with the Japanese one may or may not be a real phone number for Sun Breath, and I don't think phone numbers that start with 555 are ever actual phone numbers. One of the most infamous treasures in Pikmin 2 is the Arboreal Frippery, or the One-Hit Death in Japan. Take a guess why it's one of the most infamous treasures. They weren't even trying to hide anything in Japan either. They were pretty much straight up like, yeah, this is weed. They weren't as blunt, pun intended, in the US version, but Olimar does have the notable line, "In the interest of scientific discovery, I better give it a test run." The leaf was redesigned and made red in the PAL version because no fun is allowed. Another somewhat infamous one is the Silencer, a creepy baby head doll. It looks the same in all versions, but in Japan, it's worth 666 pokos, the currency Hakatations use. The spherical atlas and the geographic projection are 2 halves of a whole globe. They put so much into localizing this game that they rotated the spherical atlas so the cutscene shows the respective region each version is for. The geographic projection does something similar, where the Japanese and North American versions show South America, but was changed to Australia for the PAL version. The compelling and impenetrable cookies were under the Gourmet series of treasures in Japan. They are moved over to the Sweet Tooth series and localized, cause they make a lot more sense there. Next are the treasures exclusive to specific versions of the game, starting off with the Japanese-only treasures. This version has an entire series exclusive to it, the Mystery Disc series, which is comprised of only milk cap covers. A whopping 14 of them, in fact. I can't help but feel like Japan got the short end of the stick here, unless they just really like milk covers that much. The flying saucer in particular has a weird description, suggesting that the Hakatations never discovered other intelligent species before? Did they not know about the Kopai until Pikmin 3? What about those space pirates Olimar mentioned in Pikmin 1? Why is there even a space shipping company if they thought there's no intelligent life on other planets? The family raft is just a simple popsicle stick. The text on it says that you win a free popsicle. The lightning bolt is a milk bottle opener. What's up with Japan and milk? The ultimate spitter is a Begoma toy. The Begoma is essentially the precursor to Beyblade. It says Sky on it, and comes from an orange bulbarb that falls from the sky. The last Japanese-only treasure is the Broken Cooking God, which is just a broken spork. Starting off with the North American-only treasures is the Boom Cone, a firework cone. Patriotic. The Drone Supplies is a packet of deviled ham. The Fruit Guard is canned treetop apple juice. Canned apple juice, that's a little weird. The Stupendous Lens is a sunrise pocket magnifying glass. The Thirst Activator is a treetop lid of what's probably applesauce. The Optical Illustration is a ragu pasta sauce lid. The Dimensional Slicer is a can opener. The Survival series is a unique treasure series that consists of 2 different lip balms. The Pondering Emblem is a bottle cap of Yoo-Hoo chocolate drink. I always wondered what it tasted like. Like, I know what chocolate milk is like, but what's chocolate drink? The Activity Arouser is not for M&Ms like I thought as a kid. It's not a lid with an M, but a W for Wilson Tennis Balls. Tennis balls. The Hypnotic Platter is a bottle cap for A&W Root Beer. The Happiness Emblem is a cap for Squirt Grapefruit Soda. Creative Inspiration is a cap for RC Cola. And the Abstract Masterpiece is a Snapple Juice lid. Wow, there's a lot more treasures exclusive to North America than I thought. Between the North American and PAL versions, there are treasures that share the same name and sometimes descriptions, but are separate objects. The first PAL exclusive treasure is its version of the Abstract Masterpiece, which is I don't know how to pronounce fruity soda. Its Hypnotic Platter is a bottle cap of Vitamall's non-alcoholic malt beer. The Container of Sea Bounty is a container of Hawesta herring and tomato sauce. Weird. Its Happiness Emblem is a cap of Fristy yogurt drink. Drinkable yogurt sounds pretty nice. I'd want to try that one day. Oh no, the product placement is getting to me. The Container of Knowledge is a tin of, however you pronounce that, sardines. Its Drone Supplies is Haribo gummy candies. The Pondering Emblem is a bottle cap of Tizer Citrus soft drink. The Activity Booster is a bottle cap of Sinalco soft drink. And the last is the Plentiful Tank, a jar of Beat Saber honey. I'm sorry I probably horribly mispronounced some of these. This treasure comes with a somewhat awkwardly worded description with it. The scale of objects found on this planet is overwhelming. I am sheer drowned in it. What if instead of for the company, I brought this back for my family? That would buy us so much food. Oh, I shouldn't really think about it. Technically not a regional difference, but the description was completely rewritten in the Wii version. The sheer scale of objects I found on this planet never ceases to amaze me. Why, I could sink right to the bottom of this stuff. Just think how much I could save on my groceries if I brought this back to my family instead. No, I can't allow myself to think this way. I'm on a mission. I have to think of the company. And then there are the treasures that are in 2 versions, but not all 3. Starting off with the treasures in the North American and PAL versions is the Gherkin Gate, a lid for a Vlasic pickle jar. The Saliva Tricks is a lid of Dannon yogurt. The Yellow Taste Tyrant is a lid for French's mustard. The Lip Service is a tube of lipstick. The Mysterious Remains is a crab claw. And the Impediment Scourge is a bottle opener, essentially replacing their lightning bolt. Next are treasures both in the Japanese and PAL versions, but not in the North American version. First is the Magical Stage, one of those mirrors that can open up and close. It has this magic girl theme to it, with a text on the side saying, "Lovely Yuri." The Open Archive is a can of Imareya brand red bean paste. The Permanent Container is a tin of Awate brand ICC. Does anyone know what ICC stands for in this case? The Empty Space Container is a can of Kyokyo brand shellfish. The Endless Repository is a can of Maruha brand oysters. Weirdly enough, the name is used in the North American version for a tin of beach cliff sardines, but it's called the Perfect Container in the PAL version. And the Stringent Container is a can of Medea corned beef, which also has weird region name changes. The name is used in the North American version for a container of Clabber Girl baking powder, while this treasure is called the Survival Container in the PAL version. Confusing. Every treasure is worth a different amount of Pokos. Because of the varying treasures in each region, the total amount of Pokos from treasures vary from each region. The North American version has the most amount of Pokos, being 26,985. The PAL version has exactly 100 less, being 26,885. The Japanese version has the least total amount of pokers, being 26,181. Sometimes the same treasure will have a very different name in another language, as mentioned before with the arboreal frippery to the one-hit death. I won't be going through all of them, but here's a good couple I like. The armored nut is called low-grade employee seed in Japan, and melancholic nut in French. The brute knuckles in Japanese is Iron Man's fist, which goes perfectly with the Brawny Abyss's original name, Iron Man's hole. The broken food master was renamed to the divine cooking tool in the English PAL version. So many seemingly arbitrary choices. I like the French-Canadian name, the god of snacks. The citrus lump's Japanese name is thick facial skin, an idiom of shameless in Japan. The confection hoop is the hula confection in Germany. The conifer spire is the sudden death tree conifer cone in Japanese, because pine cone and sudden death share the same word apparently. All the essence of treasures had completely different names, but my favorite is the essence of desire, being the monument of galaxy love. The forged courage is passion alloy Mr. Guts. The hideous victual is the pseudo-intestine. The implement of toil is Binbogami's amulet. Binbogami being a god who brings people poverty and misery. The name is reflected in other languages too. Fatigue tool. Labor incarnation. But according to the Spanish, it's a work enhancer. And the Germans were just like, double sword! The Invigorator's Japanese name translates to Absolute Insomnia Earthenware Cafe au lait. The meat satchel is the Desire Stick. The mystical disc is the Throbbing Magical Circle. The worthless statue is the authoritative-looking, but actually not authoritative stone statue. And the priceless statue is the authoritative-looking and actually authoritative stone statue. The Repugnant Appendage is ironically the Fragrant Being. The Science Project is the Leafocopter in German. The Seed of Greed is Weird Berry in Italian. The Spirit Flogger is the Model Employee in Japan. The Spousaler is the Anti-Spouse Alarm in Spanish. The Stellar Orb is the Sun Tanning Machine in Japan. The Superstrong Stabilizer is Fixman, the monster-powered metal fitting. The Temporal Mechanism is the Broken Time Machine. To the French, the Tortured Artist series is the Artist series. The Wiggle Noggin's one of my favorite treasures. It has lots of great names. Space Cat's Eye, Frenetic Head, Katsy Tatsy, and Crazy Little Head. Last, there are a lot of treasures that are the same in multiple versions, but are in different locations. I'm not gonna go through all of those. I've talked about the treasures enough. Only one I know is worth noting is the Mysterious Remains, where in the North American version, it's found inside of an Emperor Bulblax within the Cavern of Chaos. This makes sense considering crab is food, and the boss of this dungeon is a crustaceous creature. But for some reason, the PAL version moved it to where the ultimate spinner was, inside of a random dwarf orange bulborb within the Snagret hole. There's a really important aspect to Pikmin 2 that I haven't covered yet, and that's the various creatures and wildlife found all over the game. Normally you have to throw Pikmin at the body head thing of the beady long legs to damage it, but in Japan, you could simply just attack the feet. There's a feature called the Pikipedia that allows you to view all the enemies in the game and interact with them a bit. This includes being able to turn them into stone. The Volatile Weevil is an enemy that explodes, but in the Japanese version, if you petrify it right before it explodes, the entire game freezes. Another feature of the Pikipedia are guides from our pal Louie on how to cook the creatures of the game. Cause doesn't that look appetizing? For the hairy bulborb, the localized versions describe grilling it in foil, but in Japan, he talked about putting its hair into a drink. Hey, it increases blood circulation apparently. The Mamuta has a notable cooking guide. It goes as this. Inedible, tastes like chicken. This description for the Mamuta is actually likely a mistake, as in the Japanese version, a very similar description was used for Louis's note on the burrowing snagret, with the Mamuta having a proper guide instead. To be honest, the Mamuta randomly tasting like chicken makes it a lot funnier. Most creatures in Pikmin 2 have both a common name and a scientific name. For example, you have the Bulborb, then you have the scientific name Oculus Kageyami. The Japanese version has something very similar, but not quite the same, where they have a name and a more common nickname. Like, the fiery blowhog's proper Japanese name translates to fire-breathing pig tokuri, and its nickname is just pig tokuri. Tokuri is a type of Japanese flask, by the way. Sometimes the Japanese name and its nickname are completely different. The Bulborb's Japanese name translates to Spotted Crimson Bug-Eye. You could thank Brawl for confirming this, but their more common nickname is Chappie. There's lots of other good enemy names in other languages too. Again, I feel like this is an aspect that's never talked about, which is why I want to share it here. The bumbling snitchbug is already a great name in English, but their Spanish name translates to Usurper Bumblebee. The burrowing snagret's Spanish name roughly translates to elusive glutton. The cloaking burrownit is hidden potato beetle in Italian. One of the more well-known changes between the North American and PAL versions of Pikmin 2 was the change Wollywog to Wollyhop. The reason for this change is, well, that last part of the North American name is an obscure racial slur. And also because of this, wogpoles were changed to woolpoles. Hope y'all glad I taught some of y'all a new racial slur. Anyways, the Doodlebug's Japanese name translates to Green Lesser Fart Death. Good name. They also gave them a different family name from the flint beetles when localizing the game. The Japanese nicknames for jelly floats are Manman, which doesn't seem to have any meaning, but it is similar to Monko, which means pussy. Seems like a stretch of a comparison, but their proper names are Hoto Karageka, and Hoto is another term for pussy. The Man-at Legs is already a great name in English, also being a reference to the Middle Ages soldier Man-at-Arms, but the Spanish name, the Arañeta, is great too. I already mentioned the fiery blowhog's name, but shout out on how I hate the Japanese name of the watery blowhog. It translates to fire-breathing pig tokuri water spit variant. Also, the armored cannon larva's Japanese name is two-mouth tokuri, suggesting that they're related, a tidbit lost in translation. While editing this video, I even found out that the armored cannon larvae even use the same sound effect as the fiery and watery blowhogs, just lower pitched. The Japanese name for the ravenous whisker pillar translates to the nosehair bug. Hey, you know, it kinda looked like the president. The Skitterleaf's Spanish name translates to the atom stumper leaf. The German name for the swooping snitch bug is the fluttering picknapper, and the Spanish name is a delinquent bumblebee. The toady bloister has some interesting other names. The Japanese name is Cute Eyes Kemikuji. Kemikuji is likely from the Japanese word for slug, Namakuji. For the French name, they essentially mash together the words fan, innards, and disembowel. The German name is Camo Flounder, convenient when portmanteaus can translate to English. The Spanish name translates to snitch cockle, with the ranging bloister's Spanish name being magpie cockle. The water dumple's Japanese name translates to dango catfish, likely from how round it is. The catfish part made more sense in Pikmin 1 when they had whiskers. Dumple in the English name probably comes from dumpling. The Italian name translates to hydromole, and the Spanish one being similar, aquatic mole. Finally, the infamous terrifying water wraith. Its Japanese name translates to Candy Bald Head. I saved one big thing for last, and that is an entire feature was left out outside of Japan. This was the e-reader compatibility. You may or may not be familiar with it. Essentially, this was Nintendo's way of doing paid DLC on the GameCube. To do so, along with your GameCube and copy of Pikmin 2, you need a GBA link cable, the e-reader device, and e-reader cards. After you go into the e-reader menu on Pikmin 2, plug the e-reader to your GBA, hook up your GBA to your GameCube, and carefully swipe your e-reader card into the e-reader. Then you have access to a basic puzzle minigame. Yeah, while the e-reader was released in the West, it was not popular enough to have the Pikmin 2 stuff, likely due to the cumbersome setup. To be fair, if you owned all the cards, you did get a lot of content. It would have been nice if they put these minigames built in the Wii version so everyone could have access to them. If you want more depth on the e-reader and the minigames for Pikmin 2, I recommend watching Jimble's video. Okay, bye-bye. This is the end of the video.